4 or 5 months later, he calls. No agent, no casting director, nothing like that. He calls my business manager's office. I want to talk to Rod.
Rod Taylor's life wasn't what it seemed. The handsome star of The Birds and The Time Machine had a dark and shocking side. He broke ribs in real fights on set, faced serious accusations from his ex-wife, and had a love so toxic it ended with a ring thrown away forever. For 9 years, his family stayed silent. Now, they've confirmed the truth everyone suspected. What really happened behind the scenes of his life? The answer is more shocking than anyone could have imagined. Rod Taylor was born on January 11, 1930, in Lidcombe, a suburb of Sydney, Australia. His parents, William Sturt Taylor and Mona Thompson, created a home full of creativity and inspiration. William worked as a steel construction contractor, but also had a passion for commercial art, while Mona wrote over 100 children's stories. Growing up in this creative environment shaped Rod's artistic talents. As a teenager, his skill in visual arts stood out, earning him a job as a window display designer at Mark Foy's, a famous department store in Sydney. This job allowed him to explore visual storytelling, which later influenced his acting style, especially in physically expressive roles. Rod's artistic journey deepened when he joined East Sydney Technical and Fine Arts College to study graphic arts. During this time, he also became interested in acting, participating in amateur theater productions. His first notable stage performance was in Julius Caesar in 1950 at the Independent Theatre. In 1951, he appeared in The Vigil with John Alden Coe, balancing his passion for acting with various jobs to support himself. His natural talent for performance also led to a successful radio career. One significant moment came when he auditioned with Queenie Ashton, a famous Australian actress who immediately recognized his potential. By 1953, Rod's voice was well known on Australian radio, featuring in popular programs like The Dam Busters, Tarzan, and Blue Hills. A life-changing moment came when Rod saw Sir Laurence Olivier perform in Richard III. Olivier's performance was so powerful that it inspired Rod to fully commit to acting, leaving behind his earlier focus on graphic arts. Determined to pursue his dream, he joined Sydney's Independent Theatre School. His talent quickly caught the attention of producers at the Mercury Theatre, leading to his first professional stage role in George Bernard Shaw's Miss Alliance. This marked the beginning of his serious acting career. In 1954, Rod took a bold step and moved to Hollywood to chase his dreams. He arrived with little more than determination and a visitor visa. Life in America was tough. His first meeting with producer Hal Wallace was a disaster, with Wallace dismissively referring to him as the bum with the broken nose. This rejection left Taylor living in a tiny 8 by 10-foot room on Malibu Beach. The room was basic, with just a curtain for a wardrobe and a simple jug and bowl serving as a bathroom. To survive, Taylor caught fish from the beach, living a rough and resourceful lifestyle while holding on to his dream of making it in Hollywood. His struggles were made worse by visa problems, as his 6-week work permit had expired. Every job opportunity required him to convince immigration officials that only he could do the role, which made it almost impossible to find work outside of acting. Things began to change for Taylor when he auditioned for Somebody Up There Likes Me, a biopic about Rocky Graziano. He didn't get the part, it went to Paul Newman, but his strong Brooklyn accent caught the attention of MGM chief Dor Sherry. This led to Taylor securing a contract worth $450 a week. His first role with MGM was in The Catered Affair, where he played a Bronx character so well that the studio didn't realize he was Australian until filming was already underway. When MGM suggested he change his name to avoid confusion with stars like Elizabeth Taylor and Robert Taylor, Rod jokingly said, "Okay, I'll be Rod Sherry." This bold response allowed him to keep his name. In 1960, Taylor's career took a huge leap forward with the science fiction classic The Time Machine. At first, he wasn't even considered for the role, as the studio preferred well-known actors like James Mason and David Niven. Ironically, Taylor initially turned it down, thinking it was just another sci-fi movie. However, the film, made on a modest $600,000 budget, became a groundbreaking success, winning an Academy Award for its special effects. Taylor's performance as H. George Wells, the scientist who travels far into the future, made him a leading man in Hollywood. The movie's innovative time-lapse photography and the iconic time machine prop became legendary in cinema history. In 1961, Taylor worked with Alfred Hitchcock on The Birds, though their first meeting didn't go smoothly. Taylor made the mistake of casually calling Hitchcock Alfred, which upset the director. Despite this awkward start, Taylor was offered the role 2 days later, signing a 4-picture deal worth $50,000 for 12 weeks of work. During all this, Taylor's personal life added drama. In 1951, Rod Taylor married Peggy Williams when he was just 21 years old. She was a model, and their marriage seemed like a happy start to their lives. But things quickly fell apart. By 1954, they divorced, and the reasons were messy. Taylor said it was because they were too young and immature. But in court, Williams accused him of domestic violence. This was serious and damaging for Taylor's reputation, even though no charges were ever filed. The marriage lasted only 3 years, but those accusations stuck with Taylor for a long time and affected how people saw him in Hollywood. Years later, in 1962, Taylor began a fiery relationship with Swedish actress Anita Ekberg while filming 7 Seas to Calais in Italy. Their romance was full of passion, but also full of fights. Taylor once joked that Anita was all woman, but could also punch like a man. Things became tense when Ekberg told the press they were engaged without telling Taylor first. This upset him deeply. They had different views on life. Taylor believed a husband should lead the family, while Ekberg was fiercely independent. This clash caused even more problems. Their fights were often dramatic and public. Paparazzi loved capturing their arguments, which became legendary in Hollywood. One famous incident happened when Ekberg visited Taylor during the filming of The Birds. They had a heated argument, and she threw her engagement ring. It was never found, and the story became a big joke among the crew. Their relationship didn't last, but their lives stayed strangely connected. Both Taylor and Ekberg passed away within days of each other in January 2015. Ekberg, by then, was living in Rome, poor and alone, and she died on what would have been Taylor's 85th birthday. In 1963, Taylor married again, this time to model Mary Hilem. The wedding was a grand Hollywood event with big stars like John Wayne, Jane Fonda, and Vincente Minnelli attending. During the ceremony, John Wayne was seen shaking his head as if he already knew the marriage wouldn't last. Taylor later said Wayne's reaction felt like a warning. Trouble started right away. At their wedding reception, Hilem didn't even recognize John Wayne, asking Taylor, "Who's that tall man?" This showed how disconnected she was from Taylor's Hollywood world. Their marriage quickly turned rocky. By the end of 1964, they were already separating and talking about divorce. They had a daughter, Felicia, in August 1964. But even that didn't save their relationship. The marriage ended in 1969, and Taylor had to pay $60,000 a year in alimony. It was a bitter end to a difficult chapter in his personal life. Rod Taylor's most intense on-screen fight happened during the filming of Darker Than Amber in 1970. It was supposed to be a choreographed scene between him and William Smith, but things quickly got out of hand. Taylor accidentally landed a real punch on Smith, and instead of stopping, both actors kept fighting for real while the cameras rolled. The brawl turned brutal. Smith ended up with 3 broken ribs, and Taylor walked away with a broken nose. The fight was so fierce that director Steven Soderbergh later called it jaw-dropping for its time. The scene was so graphic that much of it had to be edited out when the movie's rating was changed from R to GP, which is now known as PG. Despite the injuries, Taylor insisted the cameras keep rolling to capture the raw energy of the fight. The uncut version of this scene would later inspire Soderbergh's fight choreography in his 2011 movie, Haywire. In 1973, during the filming of The Deadly Trackers, Taylor had a rough off-screen relationship with his co-star Richard Harris. The two didn't get along and often ended up in fights. Things got so bad that the production team hired William Smith, the same actor Taylor had fought in Darker Than Amber, to keep the peace between them. Both Taylor and Harris were known for their love of drinking, which didn't help the situation. They followed a dry rule during weekdays while filming, but spent weekends drinking tequila and rewriting parts of the script. Despite their clashes, the two worked together to make the script better, adding scenes to make the villain more menacing. Taylor said the original script wasn't great and needed fixing. Rod Taylor became known as one of Hollywood's toughest actors, both on and off screen. He often performed his own stunts, even when it was dangerous. During The Deadly Trackers, he dislocated his shoulder while doing a horse fall at full gallop because no stunt double was available. Over time, Taylor moved away from romantic roles and embraced grittier, more violent characters, like those in Darker Than Amber and The Deadly Trackers. By the early 1970s, Taylor's hard-drinking lifestyle and wild personality reminded people of Errol Flynn, another famous Australian actor known for his excesses. A newspaper even wrote, "Errol Flynn is alive and well, but these days his name is Rod Taylor." Taylor was a heavy drinker and a legendary figure in Hollywood's social scene. He was close to John Wayne, and the two were known for their long drinking sessions and conversations that could last for days. Even though Taylor was compared to Flynn, he insisted there was a difference between their behavior, though it wasn't entirely clear what that difference was. Despite the drama, Taylor remained disciplined during work, staying sober on filming days and committed to his craft. Rod Taylor shared a unique friendship with John Wayne that began in the early 1960s, years before they worked together in The Train Robbers, 1973. They first met at Wayne's home during a dinner that included Dean Martin. Their bond was evident in amusing ways, like Wayne framing Taylor's poker debts and displaying the checks on his trophy wall as a joke. Despite their friendship, their professional collaborations almost didn't happen. Taylor quit Circus World, 1964, just a day before filming started, and Wayne tried to get him the role of Lomax in War Wagon, 1967. But studio contracts gave it to Kirk Douglas. Taylor was even considered for Rio Bravo, 1959, but the role went to Ricky Nelson instead. Their friendship was so strong that Taylor was chosen to roast Wayne at a 1970 banquet celebrating Wayne's Oscar win for True Grit. Taylor's television career was equally impressive and showcased his range as an actor. He started in Australian radio, acting in popular shows like The Dam Busters, Tarzan, and Blue Hills. His role in O'Sullivan's Bay won him a Rolla Award in 1954, which opened the doors to Hollywood. In the U.S., he starred in shows like Bearcats, 1971, and The Oregon Trail, 1976. From 1988 to 1990, He played Frank Agretti in the hit drama Falcon Crest, sharing the screen with Jane Wyman. Even in the 1990s, he stayed active with guest roles in shows like Murder, She Wrote and Walker, Texas Ranger. In 1993, he hosted a special documentary, Time Machine: The Journey Back, which reunited him with his co-star Alan Young and included a mini-sequel to his famous 1960 film. Rod Taylor's final role came in Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Basterds, 2009, where he played Winston Churchill. At first, Taylor had retired from acting and even suggested that Albert Finney take the role instead, but Tarantino's persistence convinced him to accept. The film had a $70 million budget and became a huge success, earning $321.5 million worldwide. It was nominated for 8 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. Taylor's role as Churchill added weight to the film's bold story about assassinating Nazi leaders. This marked a remarkable end to his career, which had started with radio dramas in Australia and concluded with one of the most talked-about films of the decade. Rod Taylor met Carol Kikamura in 1960 while working on his TV series Hong Kong. Carol was an extra on the set, and their romance began unexpectedly. However, it didn't last long. Carol moved to Las Vegas, and they lost touch completely. For 10 years, they had no contact at all. Then, in 1971, Carol decided to reach out. She left a message for Rod at CBS, and this simple act brought them back together. They started dating again, slowly rebuilding their connection. It wasn't rushed. They dated for 9 years before finally getting married on October 15, 1980. Their marriage lasted until Rod's death in 2015, making it his longest and most stable relationship. Rod and Carol shared a love story that spanned 43 years, a rare feat in Hollywood. Their bond stood in contrast to Rod's earlier marriages. His first, to Peggy Williams in the early 1950s, ended after allegations of domestic violence. His second marriage, to Mary Hilem, also didn't last. It ended in divorce in 1969. But with Carol, it was different. She supported him through the later years of his career, including his final role in Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Basterds. Rod didn't want to take the role at first, but Tarantino convinced him. Carol stayed by his side through everything, right up to his last moments. In the early 1970s, Rod made a huge impact on Australian cultural history. He donated $250,000 to save the Australian opera, which is now known as Opera Australia. At that time, it was a massive amount of money, worth over $1 million today. This donation came during an important period in Rod's life. He was moving away from leading man roles and focusing more on meaningful, character-driven parts. It was also the time when his relationship with Carol was rekindled. This act of generosity showed his love for his homeland and his commitment to the arts. Rod's final years were spent in his Beverly Hills home with Carol. After retiring, he lived a quiet life. In late December 2014, Rod Taylor suffered a bad fall at his home in Beverly Hills. He needed to go to the hospital right away. This happened just days before his 85th birthday. On January 7, 2015, Rod Taylor died from a heart attack at his Beverly Hills home. It was just 4 days before his 85th birthday. Strangely, his former fiancée, Anita Ekberg, passed away only 4 days later. Rod's passing was peaceful. He was at home, surrounded by his wife Carol and his daughter, Felicia Taylor, who used to work as a CNN correspondent. He had returned home after being in the hospital for his fall. In his final moments, his family and friends were with him. Many people honored his memory after his death. Tippi Hedren, his co-star in The Birds, called him one of the most fun, thoughtful, and classy people she had ever known. Rod Taylor left a big mark on both Australian and American cinema. His career lasted over 60 years, and he acted in more than 50 movies. He came from the suburbs of Sydney and became a Hollywood star. This made him a role model for many Australian actors. Rod could act in any kind of movie. He starred in the science fiction film The Time Machine in 1960, the horror classic The Birds in 1963, and even voiced Pongo in the animated movie 101 Dalmatians in 1961. Beyond acting, Rod helped Australian culture in other ways. In the 1970s, he donated $250,000 to save the Australian opera, which is now Opera Australia. His last role in Inglourious Basterds came after he had already retired, making it a great way to end his career. He is one of only 2 actors to appear in movies directed by both Alfred Hitchcock and Quentin Tarantino. The other is Bruce Dern. Rod won a Screen Actors Guild Award in 2010 for Inglourious Basterds, showing how much he mattered to the film world. His legacy continues to inspire generations of actors.